what do you think that role would entail, and why do you think there's a growing need for trade compliance representation at the executive level?
Sure, no, happy to expand upon that. And I think this really comes down to what is the value that we can be adding, right? And who else should be doing that? So I was having a discussion a couple weeks ago with a colleague of mine. Now, she is unbelievably good in trade compliance. She is competent. She is one of those great communicators when it comes to not only, managing her team, but also managing upwards, which is often more difficult. And she was explaining this story about how she was recently invited to this particular board meeting, and she was so happy that they were, asking her opinion on some of the upcoming investment discussions because of the tariff situation. And, she seemed so happy to have been invited to this meeting. And I looked at her and I said, I mean, it's great that you're invited, but if not you, who else? Yeah. Aside from the fact that she's just, of course, a great value add in any strategic conversation, but if not her, who else would they talk to? Because if you think about it, this is something we're always discussing in trade compliance. And if you ask most trade compliance officers, why do you like your job? I would, and you probably do this, probably overwhelming majority are saying, oh, well, it's really interesting because we get to be part of so many different parts of the organization, and we get to talk to lots of different kinds of people. And, we get to deal with logistics, we get to deal with legal, we get to deal with sales, we get to deal with procurement, we get to deal with HR. You really are that little middle point of the wheel with all the different spokes, right? So I think this is really where, if we look across our organizations and see who else could possibly have our level of business understanding, our level of legal understanding, and our level of, we'll say, future-looking impact, who else? So in that case, I think that to some extent already answers the question of saying, if we were really starting to develop a true concept of a chief trade officer, I think that they could be really delivering a lot of value to the different C-suite areas, whether that's talking to your legal counsel, here's what we're seeing kind of in this operational trade compliance space or in the political space and how it could impact our legal risk exposure. Talking to the CEO, it's one thing to say that you have a certain risk appetite, but it's very hard to do that if you can't really measure it and understand in reality what that's going to look like. You can be talking to the chief financial officer to help saying, okay, based on what we're seeing in our organization, here's where we have either operational delays or regulatory risks that need our attention, either to invest more in those things or where we can find cost savings.